Sooner fans, Longhorn Nation, welcome to episode 8 of the Boomer Bevo Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to covering exclusively the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. Kevin, are you ready for episode 8?
Man, I've been ready. Let's do it.
Kevin, let me explain to you the power of the Boomer Bevo Podcast.
Okay.
The last podcast we did, episode 7, we had, I don't know, like 20 million views. It was fantastic.
Broke the internet.
And I was exceptionally critical of the University of Oklahoma's recruiting performance to date. Do you remember this, Kevin?
How could I forget?
You were reveling in our dismay. You had written the end of Oklahoma football as we know it. You, Texas fan, had never been happier than when we were 45th in the country in recruiting. Am I recalling episode 7 the way you recall it?
Absolutely not.
So, because of your dismay, and Brent Venables, who is a subscriber to the Boomer Bevo podcast, in case anybody's wondering, Brent Venables decides to go ahead and turn on the recruiting effort. And since our recording, Oklahoma has jumped from 45th to 11th. We've added 2 offensive linemen, one a 4-star out of Missouri, the other one a 6'7" 3-star out of New Jersey, along with Paul Picchiotti, a linebacker out of Pennsylvania who's going to go to IMG Academy this year. Kevin, do you think that this is all directly related to the power of the Boomer Bevo podcast? Yes or no?
Well, clearly it is.
Okay.
Clearly it is. However, I do remember saying that, chill, relax.
I don't remember that.
You know,
I don't remember
okay.
that. I remember the world was falling down. I remember the world was falling. I remember the world was falling apart, and you were making fun of me.
I was making fun of you, but I wasn't making fun of OU's recruiting them. I was making fun of you.
Oh,
the difference. Jaquez Petaway, good pickup, wide receiver out of Houston. Great player.
I think Kevin, I told you this on the last. We're going to be fine.
Is that what you said?
Listen, I'll tell you this. I'm not happy at being the number 11, though. Like, if this podcast has the kind of power to move from 45 to 11, let's BV, if you're listening, let's get after it. Let's bump this thing up. Arch Manning should not be the only reason Texas. Are y'all still at number 3?
Yes.
The Texas is at number 3. We can be better. We must be better.
It's not because of Arch Manning. They've got some dudes in that class.
Dude, your offensive linemen are legit.
The ones we have coming in this year.
Oh, is it this year? Yeah.
Yeah, those. I mean, yeah.
I
think 3 of them start by the end of the year, which is more for necessity than just their talent. But
does that speak to some concerns you have with the offensive line as a whole, that you're counting on 3 true freshmen, or does that speak more to their talent, or both?
Both. It speaks more to the talent, and it speaks to the level of players that they have on campus now.
So I look at these recruits and I see potential. I see the kind of stuff that Bill Bedenbaugh used to turn into stars. 6'7". Does that remind you of anybody that we've ever had at Oklahoma on the offensive line?
Big guy out of Tennessee, or former Tennessee commit. 3-star, came in, started as a true freshman.
Yeah.
Orlando Brown. Yeah.
It reminds me of Orlando Brown, who is just an apple, who was a stud, NFL stud. Yeah. I think you combine the strength and conditioning and BV's development, knowing what you have to do to players to get them to perform. And if we can continue to recruit at this level, I think we're going to be fine. I had the fortunate opportunity to be a co-host, Kevin, on our podcast partner, KREF, 1400 Sports Talk out of Norman, Oklahoma, as well as 94.7. And we talked about this very thing, recruiting. That was the same day that Caden Green signed.
Committed.
And I got to tell you, first of all, a podcast for the 35 to 45 minutes that we do it is easy compared to those 4-hour radio shows.
Yeah, you gotta stretch that time out.
Well, here's the thing. You got to stretch the time out. And number two, you are worried you're going to say a cuss word. Well, at least I am.
Oh, no, I get it. 4 hours, yeah, live.
Look, I might let a cuss word slip on this podcast. Alice Young, owner of Brown O'Haver, main sponsor of the podcast, 405-735-5510, has given me explicit instructions that I am not to be explicit on this ring. So I can't say the S word or the F word or the D word or the B word or any other words. As much as maybe I want to when I'm talking about our lack of a running game or Lincoln Riley or anybody from Texas with a name like Romonts Taylor. You know, I can't add what I want to add. You know how I want to add Romonts Taylor? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like most sports fans do with the opposing team. I can't do any of that.
Yeah.
But for 35 minutes, I can kind of handle that. You know, like in my brain. Like I can kind of 4 hours, it's like, son of a, you know?
Yeah. You know, you can't edit out the live radio, you know, but if you do it on this, we can go chop it up, take that out.
No,
it's all good.
Well, first of all, I don't know how to do that, but I assume you can do that.
I can.
Okay, good. That makes me feel better, actually. So yes, even more to the point, but for 4 hours, you're like, man, I'm going to say something inappropriate. But all that to be said, we talked a lot OU recruiting. Those podcasts are also available on that Podomatic page. But one of the things I thought that was interesting was we talked about USC recruiting and the fact that they just weren't where everybody thought they were going to be. What's Texas fans' take on USC recruiting? What do you think about how he's doing so far out there?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Usually when you get a head coach of that notoriety like a Lincoln Riley, usually it leads to an instant splash, but it hasn't really been happening yet. So I'm not sure if he's holding off on some bigger guys or if he's taking the approach of just taking a few high school players and then trying to wait and see who's available in the transfer portal, which, you know, I hear a lot of coaches may be doing, but it hasn't been that big splash that you were expecting from a guy like Lincoln Riley, who has shown that he can recruit at a very high level.
But isn't that what makes you, if you're a USC fan, that makes you concerned that, yes, he can recruit at a high level, but he's not. And then even when he recruited at a high level at Oklahoma, he then would complain, as you remember in his own words, that when he got to the national championship playoff, that he had the worst of all four teams there in terms of talent and makeup. I mean, doesn't that concern you?
I'm sure it does. A bigger concern to be, I've been hearing things about Jordan Addison, the transfer, that he hasn't been getting the all the NIL stuff that he was promised. That's a huge concern. I mean, this is the biggest guy on the market besides Quinn Ewers, Biletnikoff Award winner, and from what I've been hearing, he was assured of some things that haven't been delivered so far.
See, this is when you got to go
back. That's a problem.
Back in the day, Reggie Bush just got his house, but he got it after he performed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I mean, hey, Addison's a Biletnikoff winner. He's a stud.
I hope he sucks. I hope he leaves. I hope he's pissed off about NIL.
I hope
everything goes wrong out there. Kevin, today, episode 8, Boomer Bevo Podcast. We're going to talk SEC. Lot going on. But first, Boomer Bevo is proud to be sponsored by the #1 public adjusting firm in the country, in the world, in the universe.
Universe, yes.
We work for the insured, not the insurance company. If you've had a loss to your home or your business and you're not getting paid, call us, 405-735-5510. Kevin, do we get our clients paid more money than they get on their own?
All the time.
What
we do.
Kevin and I will disagree about a lot of stuff on this show. What we will not disagree with is if you've had an insurance claim, be it fire, wind, hail, whatever, call Brown O'Haver, 735-5510, 405-735-5510. Whether you're in Oklahoma or Texas, we're licensed in Texas. Call us. And don't ask for me because I don't know anything about adjusting. But Kevin, the boss lady Alice Young, the boss's boss, Jessica Isom, give us a call, 405-735-5510. All right, Kevin. When are we going to the SEC? When is Texas and Oklahoma going? 2023, 24, or 25? Go.
Well, 24, I'm going to say. I'm going to say 24. I'm hoping it's 23. Hopefully they just let us out.
What gives you 24? Don't we have to be out of 24 too?
No, we're out by 25 to start, at least to be starting playing in the SEC in 25.
If everything goes to plan. What season do we play? What season is our first season in the SEC?
24.
I don't think it's soon enough.
I'd rather it be 23. Trust me.
Listen, I think ESPN is ready to kick. I think that Fox's move with USC and UCLA has made a coup.
Boss move, by the way.
I think they have pulled a coup, or they think they pulled a coup. Whatever, we can, talk about the merits or whatever. But Fox is going to try to do everything they can to have them playing in 2024.
Correct.
And I don't think Oklahoma and Texas and ESPN and the SEC want to wait that long. I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see a negotiated settlement on the buyout from the TV contract. ESPN is going to front the money, and we are going to be in the SEC in 2023 because we want to jump. ESPN, the SEC wants to jump what's happened in the Big Ten.
Okay, so they're going to outshine Fox. And we're just gonna hop right in next year. Not go with them at the same time. We're gonna go ahead of them.
I don't think they will. I think ESPN wants to be first. I think the SEC wants to be first, and I don't think the SEC wants to be considered on par with the Big Ten when it comes to college.
No, never. No, that's why you get OU into Texas, because you want to be.
And if you allow, first of all, if you allow SC and UCLA to come first. Not come first, but come at the same time. You're sharing the story with the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Worse, if you were to allow somehow SC and UCLA to beat you there, then it almost can have the perception that the SEC is the one that's playing catch up.
That's true.
That's true. I really hope that, like recruiting, the SEC and the ESPN is listening to the Boomer Bevo podcast and they move this. But no, I'm serious. I think I could see a scenario where we're playing in 2023.
Let's do it. Why not?
Okay, so we're playing in 2023. We've made that determination. What is it going to look like for Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC?
I think Oklahoma has to feel pretty good.
No, what I mean is from an alignment standpoint. Are we talking pods? Are we talking divisions? Are we going to go divisionless? What do you think?
I like the pods, man. I like the pods. I think it just makes sense. I think from a geographical standpoint, you can fit in some original rivalries in there. I think it works. I think you got to do the pods.
Okay, so you put some pods together. I put some pods together.
Yeah.
Let's start with the easy one. OU and Texas, they're in a pod. Who are they with in your scenario?
I think it's Arkansas and Missouri.
Okay, check.
Yeah.
Check. Are you upset that you don't have A&M, or are you happy you don't have A&M?
A little bit. But I think there's still a way where you can rig it to where Texas and Texas A&M still play every year.
So your suggestion is a pod composite coupled with a rivalry game of some sort.
Correct.
Okay, under that scenario, who would Oklahoma play as their rival?
Well, besides Texas, I don't know. Who do you think?
You talking like an LSU or?
I mean, there's nothing really historically there for Oklahoma, right? I mean,
no, that's what makes me. I like that idea, but if you're going to make Oklahoma or Texas, if you're going to make Texas play another person outside their pod every year, you're probably going to have to make another team play a team outside their pod every year.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they do now, right? They have the SEC East and West, but you still have teams that play every year who aren't in the same division. Like Alabama and Tennessee play every year. Georgia and Auburn play every year, despite being in different divisions.
Which, if you look at the pods, you could do that. You would just have to place OU with somebody that's not a traditional rival.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see how close we are, because we did this blank. We weren't comparing notes. I'm gonna list the let's just go with A&M since we talked to A&M. Who would be, according to you, who would be in A&M's pod?
Oh, I think you'd have LSU.
Check.
and the two Mississippi schools, State and Ole
Wow.
Miss. Okay, is that what you had?
No,
Okay, who'd
that
you
is
have?
not what I had, but I don't mind it. I had Auburn and Alabama.
Okay, that is a tough pod.
When I just wrote it out, and I wrote it out geographically.
Okay.
But now that I think about it, Louisiana doesn't back up to Alabama, does it? It backs up to Mississippi.
The bottom, Mobile, and yeah, it's still Louisiana, a little bit of Mississippi, and then
yes.
Alabama
So,
there,
okay, never mind. Well, that's hilarious. What I had LSU and A&M is I had Auburn and Alabama, and I referred to it as the pod of death. But now that makes more sense. Okay, so let's cross. I like your idea better. Let's go Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And then, okay. So then in the okay, so then what was your third pod? Now that we know that.
Okay, my third one was Alabama,
Okay.
Auburn, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt.
Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah. And with that, you get the Iron Bowl, you get Alabama and Tennessee, who play every year already, and then you get Tennessee and Vanderbilt, which is, I guess, a rival. It's a in-state,
in-state rivalry.
Yeah.
Leaving. Let's see, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, and Georgia.
Correct.
That seems pretty easy, right?
Yeah, I think so. But you still get the, what do they call it? The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. They call that rivalry. Florida and Georgia, and you get Kentucky and South Carolina.
So then the idea being that you would, in this pod system, the idea being that you would play your 3 pod games every year and then 5 other games?
You would actually play
6
other teams. Yes, 6 other games. It almost fits like the old Big 12 schedule used to be when we had the divisions. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You would have a home and home for 2 years against 2 teams, and then home and home against other teams. So, for example, you'd have a home and home with, if you're playing against Pod A, what we call Pod A, right?
Okay.
Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina. So for 2 years, you play Florida and Kentucky. 2 years, home and home. Then the next 2 years, Georgia and South Carolina. Yeah. That way, because what's happening now in the SEC is you have teams who don't play each other for years.
Yeah.
A&M joined the SEC in 2012, right? They have not hosted Georgia.
Yeah, that's
in 12 years. Can you imagine that, being in the same conference and not having a team go to your stadium?
Because if you go divisions, you're almost guaranteed to have that same scenario continue to occur.
Correct.
And maybe even worse, right?
Even worse, because there's more teams. You're adding 2 more teams, so it dilutes it even more.
This makes too much sense.
I agree.
Do you think they're going to screw this up?
Possibly. There's a high chance of it. They'll overthink it. And I just think it makes sense.
So I view Oklahoma's relationship with the SEC as what am I trying to say? I don't think Oklahoma fan is incredibly enamored with having to join the SEC, that they want to be an SEC member, but they know that it's a necessary evil to continue to be relevant in football.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, it does.
And so I think Oklahoma would love to somehow cultivate an outsider's relationship with the SEC. Like we're not part of, like we're the SEC, but reluctantly.
But we're not like y'all.
What does Texas fan are they? Give me what they're feeling about this whole marriage.
I think Texas and OU fans are kind of aligned here. We've always thought that we don't need the SEC. The tradition and the history are there. And if anything, I mean, the only team in the SEC that has a history that matches up with Oklahoma, or even Texas for that matter, is Alabama.
Yeah.
That's it. They've got some great teams now, but if you go historically throughout the history of college football, literally only Alabama can compete with Oklahoma or even Texas. So,
you're right, because I'm sure Texas always has this discussion whether they're a blue blood. Oklahoma fan does not think Texas is a blue blood.
Fair enough.
Does Texas fan think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Strong disagreement, but that's okay. That's fine.
We'll revisit this on another episode.
And that's great. But so agree to disagree for the moment. But to your point, when you look at the other schools in the SEC and you want to say blue blood college football, you've got Alabama.
That's it. That's it.
That's it, right? Because when we think blue blood, we're thinking Oklahoma. Well, let's leave Oklahoma and Texas. We'll leave Oklahoma and Texas out for just a second. Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Yes.
Unfortunately, USC, but they are. Michigan
and Nebraska.
Nebraska. You're keeping Nebraska as a blue blood?
Yeah. To me, I mean, once you're in, right? I mean, I've got 8. Now, if we're ranking the blue bloods, I put Nebraska and Texas at the bottom of the blue blood list. If we're ranking them, if there's 8,
you have 8. You have 8 blue bloods.
I have 8. Yeah.
Okay, give me your 8 real quick.
Okay, Alabama, Notre Dame, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah. You put us at the bottom. That's fine.
That wasn't a ranking.
You kind of threw me with Nebraska. If this was 10 years ago, absolutely. And you look at the team. We've got recency bias here in 2022. Do we consider Clemson, even maybe Georgia, although they've only won 1? Like but LSU. Think about LSU. LSU is the interesting one of this whole deal. They've won 4 national championships.
They have.
So their last 3 coaches have won a national championship.
Yeah.
All since Notre Dame has won a national championship. All since Oklahoma's won a national championship.
Yeah.
All since Nebraska's won a national championship. Michigan. So I think LSU maybe makes the argument to kick out of Nebraska. I'm just for the sake of it. But to your point, I agree they're on the edge. So you've got this amazing conference, which I still think is where we need to be. No argument there. This is the right decision for both schools. But I agree with you. From a lineage of college football, Alabama and maybe LSU, are you bringing blue bloods to the table?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, recently, if you're talking about the last 20 years, then of course the SEC has been great. But I mean, Florida, they didn't really get going until the 90s with Spurrier, as far as being, a championship.
How many titles? How many? They have 3 titles?
3. One with Spurrier, I think 96, and then the 2 with Urban Meyer.
Who do you think is going to be the most obnoxious fan base that we have to play? Is it A&M?
Come on.
Because that's
it's not even close.
Okay, so let's throw A&M out. We know A&M is going to be obnoxious. We y'all probably feel it even worse than we do, but man, nobody can stand A&M. All right, so we take A&M out. Is it LSU?
Probably in their own way. I don't know. I've heard the environment is insane there. I was planning to go when Texas went there, but the game, it was the COVID season, the game got canceled.
Brian, what's his name? Who's our coach? Who's their coach?
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly is a douchebag. I can't stand that guy.
He is very unlikable.
I hated him at Cincinnati. You remember when he was at Cincinnati? I hated him at Cincinnati.
Very unlikable. Yeah.
I hated him at Notre Dame. And I'll give him credit for getting them to the playoff the couple times that he did into the BCS.
He's a great coach.
Credit. He's a great, but man, I hate that guy.
He's not likable at all.
Does he continue the line of consecutive coaches to win a national championship at LSU?
He better.
No, does he? He better. Does he?
You know what? I'm going to say yes, because if Coach O did it,
yeah,
and Les Miles did it,
Yeah.
You
God,
know,
I hate L. I
and
hate
with Coach
LSU.
O, we're talking about. It's not like it was a fluke. Like the one Les Miles one. You know what they allowed? Didn't have 2 or 3 losses. 2 losses, I think.
No, that was when they had that 2-loss year. I think
They
didn't
had 2
Alabama
losses.
beat them? Didn't they get in with
No, no,
Alabama?
no, no. They lost. They lost to Arkansas and they lost to Kentucky in 2007
Oh,
with Les
you know what?
Miles.
That's right, because that was Sam Bradford's first year,
Yeah,
and we were making the case that we could still get in.
yeah.
Like we had lost,
2007.
yeah, because we had lost to Texas Tech, and we'd beaten y'all. Who was our other loss to? Missouri, maybe. My mind's going blank. But we
It was a good
lost.
Missouri team.
We had 2 losses that year, and we had just killed Florida State or Miami, either Florida State or Miami that year. We just destroyed them. But we knew with those 2 losses it was going to be tough. But you're right. That was the year that you could have made the argument. Well, I think it was a weak argument, but we were making the argument that somehow we could slip in if we beat Missouri bad enough in the Big 12.
Yeah, and they ended up playing Ohio State, who was undefeated, and they just destroyed Ohio State. Ohio State couldn't block them. That Glenn Dorsey that year, big defensive tackle, and remember him?
Graduating with my sister in high school.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
I don't think I'm going to like either of the Mississippi. Maybe Mississippi State, just if Mike Leach stays around. But Ole Miss, I can remember when Oklahoma played Ole Miss in Shreveport in the Independence Bowl in 1999.
Okay.
And they thought they were a better program in 1999 than Oklahoma was.
Was Eli starting for them?
Yeah, not in 99.
Yeah, Eli was 2000.
Yeah, no. And they beat us. I mean, I guess, whatever, scoreboard.
Was it Deuce McAllister?
Yes.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's Mississippi, Ole Miss. I mean,
yeah. Look, I've heard good things about the Grove. I've heard the tailgating scene is legit.
Do you think it's weird they dress? Do you think it's weird they dress up?
A little bit. It's too hot for that. You can't be wearing, sport coats and.
I love the girls dressing up. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
Because you go to an OU Texas game, and the girls, when they bring it, they bring it.
They bring it. Yeah, absolutely. They do.
It's not always a dress up though. It doesn't always have to be formal or a dress or whatever.
Yeah, it's formal with them at Ole Miss. It's
with them. It's like they're going to a cocktail party or something.
Yeah, it's an event for sure.
They are
interesting bunch out there. Texas played there, I think, in 2011 or 12.
All right, so here's we're gonna play a game. We're gonna play what if? What if Oklahoma and Texas were in the SEC this year? So we're gonna make a couple of assumptions. The first assumption is you do not have to play Alabama in the non-conference.
Okay.
The second assumption is both Oklahoma and Texas go 3-0. It's a 9-game SEC schedule. We go 3-0 in non-con, right? So here we go. We're going to see how we fare in our first year in the SEC.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you Texas, and then we'll both talk about Oklahoma. So your first game in the SEC conference is going to be at South Carolina. Now we're talking the 22. To the extent I know that we both haven't done enough research on all these teams, but we got Spencer Rattler, Austin Stogner, 2022 South Carolina at South Carolina, win or loss for Texas.
I'm going to say a win, and the only reason I'm going to say that, here's why. First of all, they're not great, right? I'm not saying Texas is.
No.
But Texas was about to beat Spencer Rattler by multiple touchdowns last year.
All right, fair enough. Your home debut, Orange on Orange. Josh Heupel led Tennessee Volunteers. Win or loss?
That's tough. That might be an L because I like what they did last year. I liked what Heupel did last year. Came in with not a lot of hype, right? Which I think really helped them.
I get it. Well done.
I like Tennessee.
Okay, so that's a loss. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
This is what an SEC schedule is going to look like, and we've got to get acclimated to this reality. Both schools do, because now you've got to go at LSU.
It's a loss, man. The environment there, and
All
they've
right.
got good players.
Okay, and you've got a good coach, Brian Kelly. I will say
He's a good coach.
If you're going to get LSU, this is probably your best year to get them, though, right?
Yeah. Now we did go 1-1 in a home and home with Brian Kelly when he was at Notre Dame.
But my God,
remember that's when we were back the first time.
Why did you blitz on 3rd and 15?
Oh, 3rd and 18.
Oh,
yeah.
Y'all had all the momentum in the world.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, brought 7. Yeah, trust me.
That honestly, that was one of the closest games LSU played all year.
It was the closest game they played. Yeah,
which makes sense. It was at home or on the road against Texas.
Yeah,
but still, dude, listen, that team was amazing. I mean, we know. We just got that was a beatdown of all beatdowns.
It's seriously one of the best teams I've ever seen. Incredible.
But man, why did you say it? I'm not saying you win that game, but wouldn't you have loved the chance? LSU's defense was getting gassed. They were tired. It was a hot night in Texas.
It was really hot. At this point, Texas has scored, I think, 3 straight possessions. So at this point, LSU was not stopping them. It was
your defense? Who was your
Tyler
defensive
Orlando? It's Tyler Orlando.
What?
Yeah.
God.
No,
all right.
I still can't believe it.
Oh, oof. Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma.
I don't know. The Cotton Bowl is always a push, right? I mean, look.
Well, just make the call, Kevin.
All right, it's a win. I would say it's a win. We get BB in his first game.
Okay, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's
of course you don't. Of course you don't.
You're at A&M.
That's a win, man.
Wow, like it's the number one recruiting class ever.
They're not ready yet. Those guys aren't playing.
Okay, home against Arkansas.
It's at home.
Home against Arkansas.
That's a win. They killed us last year, but that was the atmosphere. The atmosphere was insane. You want to go to a place that hates Texas even more than OU? Go to Fayetteville.
Yeah, but you get them at home.
Yeah, I'm just as an example. I'm talking about last year, why they got killed.
Okay, so wait a minute. Texas is at this point in the season, just so that our listeners are aware of what Kevin Miller is proclaiming. They were 3-0 coming into their non, which is something to be interested. Real quick, side note. You know what I love about SEC is usually you get some games early on. Remember, South Carolina and Georgia would play.
Oh yeah, week 1 sometimes. Yeah,
A&M Florida would play really early on.
Love it.
That's something to keep in mind. Anyway, okay, but this is traditional 3-0. So at this point, you are 3, 4, 5, 6. You're 7-2 at this point.
7-2
after going 5-7. Okay,
that's
whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's right. All close losses, by the way, except Arkansas.
At Ole Miss.
First of all, okay, at Ole Miss, there might be over 100 points scored.
Yeah.
With Lane Kiffin and Sark going.
That's a pretty fun matchup.
It would
think about it. I put that one in here on purpose because I think that's a fun matchup.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna give them an L because they're flying too high. They're gonna come back to earth. They're gonna lose a close one to Ole Miss.
Home against Missouri.
Win.
At Auburn. Season finale. Probably won't be the season finale now that I think about it, but we'll just say it for the sake of this. Season finale at Auburn.
Okay, at Auburn. Close win. What was Auburn last year? What was their record last year? I haven't done any research on Auburn. I don't know what Auburn's about. Their atmosphere is going to be great, obviously.
Okay, so let's think about this just for a second. Now, I think there's some homer picks in there, but I'm not going to beat you up too bad.
Yeah.
But think about this just for a second, right? You're 9-3, and I think when you look at that, that's a hell of a season, 9-3.
Hang a banner. We're hanging a banner.
Well, I'm not even picking on you. I'm just saying in the new look SEC.
Yeah.
To escape 9 conference games and only have 3 losses. I mean.
Yeah. You can't be upset, right?
All right. We're running a little long here. We're going to go through Oklahoma. I'm going to let you do the Oklahoma ones too because everybody knows what I would pick.
Okay.
So we're 3-0. Brent Venables' first year. Home against Mississippi State.
Home against Mississippi State?
Yes.
Oh, that's a win. They're not coming to Norman to win.
At Missouri.
At Missouri?
At Missouri.
That's a win.
Home. And again, home against Florida, which just sounds amazing to say.
It sounds amazing.
But might not be amazing.
New coaching staff. I think that's a win for OU.
New coaching staff for Florida.
No, I'm saying I know it's a win for OU because of Florida's new coaching staff.
All right.
Yeah.
You've already said Oklahoma beats Texas, so that's an L. That's what you're telling me, which is fair, right? Because I
said Texas wins.
I almost said the S word. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because in a good year or bad year, it matters not, right? So
no, yeah, exactly. It's a push always.
We were starting 6-0, and y'all were 3-2, and this is when you redeemed yourself right here.
Correct.
With a loss. Okay. Now we've just lost to Texas, and we have to go and we get to host LSU at home.
Oh man.
Think about that. That's the SEC we're talking about.
Yeah. What an amazing atmosphere.
Granted, new coach. He may be a first or second year quarterback who's not Joe Burrow. We just coming off a loss. Bob Stoops was historically awesome after the Oklahoma game. All right. I think his record was like perfect after the Oklahoma game.
You win because
Lincoln Riley's might have been too.
You win because they got to come into Norman. I would say it would be an L for OU if you had to go to Baton Rouge. But I think you can beat LSU and Norman.
Wow. At Arkansas.
That's tougher than it appears, right, on paper.
Agreed. You can't tell me that place isn't fired up.
Man, I'm telling you, when they played Texas last year, it was mind-blowing. I couldn't believe the atmosphere.
All right, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Arkansas on that one.
Whoa! You're probably right. Home against A&M.
Oh, man, what a great matchup. What a great matchup.
Those were, most of the good A&M matchups, though, always occurred in A&M. In Oklahoma owned A&M in Oklahoma.
Yeah, they got you guys a couple times. At least they were close in 2000, right? That was a great game.
What was that? 2002?
Yeah, well, they got you guys with Reggie McNeil.
It was 02. And then there was like a great game with Jason White in 03 or 04, probably 04.
Yeah,
Jason White kind of had to lead us back.
Not 03.
No, it wasn't 03. You're right. That's what I mean. So we've got A&M at home. When? A&M's having a rough year. They lost to Texas and Oklahoma. Are you ready for this one? This just sounds amazing to me. Away or at Georgia?
Okay, first of all, yeah, great road trip, right? You got to be there. You got to be there. But I got to go with UGA, man. They're just too good.
Home against Kentucky.
Too many good players. Oh yeah, that's a win for you.
So let this sink in. So Oklahoma and Texas are 9-3. Now, I think you're a little ambitious against Auburn.
Okay.
And I think the road game at South Carolina might be a little tougher than you think.
No, I know it'll be tough.
But let's say everything falls right? Everything falls good, 9-3. Oklahoma's had them. It's going to take – I think there's going to have to be a paradigm shift. And let me ask you this. Does either 9-3 – 9-3 doesn't get you into the – if we start in 2023 and this is our schedule, which I don't think is off the rails.
No, not at all.
What a schedule could look like. We're not playing Alabama. Neither one of us had to play Alabama in this schedule.
Yeah.
I guess maybe with the pod system, that might work out differently where Texas plays Alabama and OU plays Auburn, but maybe not. We'll see. Neither one of these make the playoffs, right?
No.
In a 12-team playoff, does either 9-3 team make the playoffs?
Perhaps. Yeah. No, I'll say yes.
One of these teams makes it, and the head-to-head goes to Texas or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, or even both with 12 teams.
Because at 9-3, I'm trying to think of. Let me look at I'm going to do something I've never done here, folks. I'm going to look at the final playoff ranking 2021. That was a full season, right?
Yes, full season.
Okay. Let's just look at the final playoff ranking. I guess this is through the bowl season, so maybe this might not be our best. Okay. Final CFP poll. Utah had 3 losses. at number 11. Oregon had 3 losses at 14, and Iowa had 3 losses at 15. Oklahoma was 10-2 and ranked 16th, just as a point of reference. I guess that's, yeah. So it would be close. But I guess the thing you've got to think about too is that the 1, 2 Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss of the world are also going to be playing a tougher schedule.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But I think being in the SEC gets you the benefit of the doubt. Going through a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet, especially if all those other teams that you lose to are good.
I think you got to get double-digit wins, but that's just my guess. I don't think Oklahoma can afford that loss at Arkansas and still make the playoff. I think they can afford the loss at Texas. I think they can afford the loss at Georgia. Especially a loss at Georgia, if it is late in the season like we have it here, that is never going to hurt anybody, I don't think.
No. I mean,
but the loss at Arkansas is going to be. But for you guys, on the flip side, the loss at Ole Miss hurts.
Yeah.
The loss at Ole Miss hurts. But the win against Oklahoma is going to get you credit because that's going to be credit over a 9-3 Oklahoma team.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the deal, right? That's the reality of where we're going to be at here, hopefully in 2023, maybe in 2024, is that the schedule, I mean, this isn't Iowa State, Kansas State.
No. And, obviously, as far as Texas goes, I'm talking crap. I mean, they lost to Kansas last year, right? But
yeah,
hypothetically, you just don't know what's going to happen from one year to the next.
Well, with Texas, we have a pretty good indication over the last 12 years, but I understand what you're trying. I understand the point you're trying to make.
Hey, 10 years doesn't make an entire history, man. Look. All right? Let's not act like what happened in the 2000s can't happen again, because it can't.
Yeah, Sark's going to bring you back. I don't know. I love this. I really hope we get there. I hope both. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to get there in 2023, beat USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. I do think, though, that, like we talked about in recruiting last week, both teams are going to have to really beef up their rosters because this isn't you've got to expect. I mean, look at Oklahoma, the middle of Oklahoma's schedule, Florida, Texas, LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have offensive linemen are going to get hurt. Defensive linemen are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Receivers, everybody's going to get hurt.
Why Nick Saban continues to stockpile talent. That is why, because guys are going to get hurt and guys are just not going to hit. Some guys, 5-star guy might not work, but the more 5 stars you have, the more likely you are that they're going to hit.
I mean, because if we compared this same schedule to the Big 12, I mean, I look at Oklahoma and like Oklahoma this year, even with my homer picks, we're favored in every game. A disappointing season, Kevin, is going to give us a loss in the Big 12. One loss will be disappointing. We are going to be favored in every single game. Unless Texas, who's favored right now? Is the odds out?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I bet Oklahoma's favored right now.
Oh, it would make sense.
If y'all are 5-0, then that could change. But, I mean, because Baylor is going to be at Oklahoma. Oklahoma State's going to be playing at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Tech is terrible. Kansas State's not any good. I guess they got Martinez, but I don't know.
Kansas State might surprise some people. I don't know. We'll do a Big 12 preview. We'll come back to this.
You're right. My point being, though, is it's like not really. It's very easy to go. Oklahoma goes 11-1, 12-0.
Yeah.
You look at this, and it's like every game you're like, holy crap.
Yeah, you can't take anybody for granted. You got to go to Kentucky. I mean, that's a good football team, and everybody has dudes.
Yeah,
everybody has athletes. Yeah.
Kevin, we're going to have a little break between this one and our next episode because I'm going on vacation to sunny San Diego, and I'll tell you what.
City in the country there.
I have got to get out of this heat. It's like if it's so hot that Lincoln Riley would warm his team up in the indoor stadium before a game.
Let me tell you, okay. Hopefully you don't have the kind of luck that Casey and I did when we went to San Diego on our honeymoon. where it was hotter there than it was in Oklahoma. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, but your wedding was sweet though. I'll tell you this. Let me explain. We got a little time, and it's our podcast, so we talk about whatever we want. Kevin Miller's wedding was like, what time was your wedding, dude?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Listen to this, guys. Kevin Miller gets married at 10 a.m. and you were out of that place by 11:30.
Oh yeah.
It was like one of these. It was a beautiful venue. It was awesome, but it was like in, out, pictures, food, gone.
Yes. Yeah, but everybody ate.
I gotta tell you, I freaking hate weddings. But if you're gonna go to a wedding, you go to the Kevin Miller Casey wedding because it was fantastic. And then for Oklahoma and Texas fans, I know y'all can get on this. Rudy's breakfast tacos is what he catered with. I grew up in San Antonio.
As did I.
I ate at the original Rudy's on I-10.
Yes.
You been there?
Absolutely. Brody State Road.
I remember when my daughters went to like the first Rudy's here, and like, Dad, it's inside a gas station. I'm like, you don't even know. Like this.
Hold on.
This is a pretend gas station. It's not even a real gas station.
Yeah.
Like the OG Rudy's was a gas station.
Yes. Correct.
Oh.
Correct. Yeah. Good times. Great times.
I bet it's really good too. Have they changed it, you think?
No way.
I hope not. I hope they haven't sold out to the corporate.
I don't think so.
You know,
they are building locations more, like, you know, but
no, I'm just talking about that original place. I understand the franchises or the new places. You got to do what you got to do, but the original place, please don't Texas that place up. You know what I mean? Keep it original.
Wait, what?
You see what I did there?
No.
All right. Hey everybody, thank you for listening. Kevin, where can they hear from us? Where can they watch us or listen to us?
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us there. Also, of course, on YouTube, like you're probably watching us now.
Like and subscribe, YouTube.
Comment too.
Please comment. We will be getting a Twitter up. Mm-hmm. Maybe Kevin does that while I'm on vacation. When we get back, we'll have it.
You come back, it'll be there.
And then Podomatic, the KREF Podomatic page. Those guys have been great to us. You can listen to what I did on the radio last week.
Great job, by the way.
Thank you. And you can also listen to our podcast there. So those guys are great. As always, Kevin, this was super fun. Enjoy the heat. Boomer.
Hook 'em.